Okay, now we're going to cut the birch plywood for the surface of our panel. 12 and 1/16 by 13 and 1/16. So I'll measure from the cage to the inside of the blade to 12 and a little bit, an extra about 1/8 inch over, maybe a little less than 1/8 inch to leave extra on the panel. And remember, you're measuring to the inside of the blade so you don't cut off too much. Latch down the cage there. Put our kickback guard on top of the blade there. There we go. You want to be very careful using the table saw. It's a very dangerous tool. You got to be very careful with it. It's easy to lose a finger. That's next to the bandsaw. It's probably the most dangerous tool that you'll use. So you have to just be super careful. It's not, you shouldn't have any problems. Got our birch plywood. I'm going to turn on the vacuum to get the dust. Looks like a nice clean cut. Make sure you don't run it through the table saw too fast. Take your time and be careful. And now I'll cut the other dimension. Now I'm going to cut the other dimension of the board. Just wanted to mention I'll be cutting against the grain, and that can be a rougher cut, so you want to be even more careful and go at a slow speed to make sure you don't get too rough of a cut. Because cutting against the grain is much rougher. Yeah, you can see it gets a little rougher on the back side of that cross cut. But looks pretty good. I think it's going to work. Let's go ahead and glue it to the cradle. All right, let's get ready to glue the birch plywood onto our cradling. You'll notice that I added these C-clamps. They weren't fitting perfectly even on one side, so I actually put this C-clamp on there to make sure it fit flush. And just to make sure everything was balanced, I put C-clamps on all the joints. Never really done that before. It's a new thing. I think it works pretty well because it pushed everything down and made it flush. So I'm going to take those off. Now, in case you don't know, these are C-clamps because of their shape, and you can see very basic clamping mechanism. Unscrew and screw and tighten. We'll be using the C-clamps to put the birch on the cradling. Then I can release the band clamp here. When I put the C-clamps on to even it out, it did leave a little bit of a glue spot on top. So you want to make sure you take sandpaper, and if there's any excess glue where you're about to glue the panel on, the birch on, you want to get rid of that. You want to get rid of that dried glue, just a little film. Got some 80 grit sandpaper there. Make sure you get all that glue off. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue the birch to the cradle. Here we've got our piece of birch here. I'm going to use these to protect the surface of the birch from the clamp when I clamp it down. Check to make sure it fits with a little bit of overlap. So I got just a little bit of overlap there. Got my C-clamps ready to go. Kind of got them opened up ready so I don't have to spend on time unscrewing them, so they're ready to clamp things down. Be ready. And, right. I will put a ribbon of glue all along the edge, right down the center here. Give it a little smear. Got it covered nicely there. Nice thin cover there. And carefully place the panel on top here. Be careful when you first put the clamp down. It can slide, so don't squeeze it real hard. Sort of get it just snug there a little bit. Check all your edges to make sure it's on there nice. Put on another one here. Checking to make sure nothing has slid, because that does happen. I like to work out from one direction out. Because the pressure goes out and then around. And make sure you have enough which I didn't. So I gotta get a couple more. Tighten. Nice, snug, firm. That. I like to use the C clamps because you got a little bit more control. But once, then I have these. These clamps I think work well to add just even more even pressure around. And actually, make sure you're getting the excess glue off. Dab there. Moisten that paper towel. Any drips. Add a little over here. There we go, and that should be ready to go. Make sure it's nice and tight there. Don't have to put too much torque on it, but nice and tight. All right, and we'll let that dry overnight.